Mark. Thank you, Lisa. So today we're going to be talking about being your own help desk. Well, I'm not going to be teaching you how to turn the screwdriver, and I'm not going to show you how to take a PC apart or your phone apart. But what we're going to do is we're going to learn some of the basic things that you'll want to do before you may take that piece of technology to the Best Buy Geek Squad or somebody in your family or a neighbor who specializes in technology. Now, I have a little bit of experience in technology. I've worked for a software company for 27 years. And then most recently, I worked a help desk at one of the local banks, and where I was working software and hardware. So I learned quite a few things. I've learned the questions that are commonly asked, and I've learned the type of things people have problems with and things that people can do themselves. And I'm hoping to show you some of the things that you can do yourself. One of the things we're going to cover is if you try to turn on your device and it doesn't work, doesn't come on. Well, did you plug it in? Well, instead of waiting for your tech person to help you, you could take a look at the cord and make sure it's plugged in. We're going to learn a few steps about how to troubleshoot and how I approach a problem. And sometimes your approach alone will come up with a solution. Next, we'll talk about when something is just not right. An application's not working, things seem slow. You just look at your screen and say, this isn't right. Next, we'll take a look at no power. We'll take a look if one piece of hardware is not working. You're sitting down at your laptop and you have a mouse to the side of your laptop and the mouse is not working. We'll take a look at what we can do for that. Same with software. If one application is not working or one piece of software isn't doing what it should be doing, what can we do? What can we look at? What can we try? And then we're going to find that the Wi-Fi or your access to the internet is really important and can be a solution or the problem to everything above. And one of the cute things is people will used to call me and say the World Wide Web is not working. And I feel so special and so proud that they think I can fix the World Wide Web. This global network that everybody uses, no, I can fix your instance of it and your connection to it. So we'll take a look at your modem and router that connects you to the Wi-Fi. And then we'll talk about how to solve more complex things. Your tech support person's on vacation, or you don't feel like driving into Best Buy for help. Some things that you could try to solve your problem. And you may find that your solution is faster. So we start with troubleshooting. And when we start troubleshooting a problem, we've determined something isn't working, something's not right. We pull out a piece of paper and we're going to write notes as we do all these steps. These notes can be handed off to our tech person. And remember, when I refer to a tech person, this could be your Best Buy Geek Squad person, your neighbor down the street who's really good at tech, a family member, friends, families, neighbors. And then we can also use these notes while we're researching the problem. So the first thing we look for is error messages. Error messages can lead you right to what the problem is and possibly what the solution is. Some error messages are well written and will tell us what the solution is. Just because it looks like a geeky message, read it anyway. It may give you some ideas of what to look at. And we'll write those, the error message number or identifier and its text. We'll write that down on our piece of paper. Then we're going to take a look. Is this issue on one device or several devices? If it's on one device, it's probably my problem. If it's on several devices, let's just say I can't access the Instagram site on my iPhone and my iPad, and I can't even access it on my computer or laptop. That tells me that the problem may be my internet connection is down or the vendor site is down. Remember, Instagram, the Weather Channel, BJ's Shopping, Facebook, they all have computers too, and those computers break. So we'll take a look at a couple steps that we can go through and take a look at that.
Sure, you're still in. Sorry. Yeah, see, I dropped out. All right, still looks like it's still going. I'll just lock my hand in the paper. Yes, I can bring you some. Hold on one sec.
Okay, that was Lisa just checking to see that I was still on Zoom and talking to the people out in the Zoom world. So we take a look at the one device or several device, so we can determine how big this problem is and where the problem might lie. Is it my problem on my device? Or could it potentially be a problem at the vendor's site? Is the Wi-Fi or network working? At home, we have a Wi-Fi connection. Most of us have a connection through Comcast. We take a look and see if our Wi-Fi is working. How do we determine if Wi-Fi is working? We go to another device and see if Wi-Fi is working. And I usually use, now don't hold this against me, but I use CNN. I don't read the news on CNN. I just use the CNN site because it's easy to type 3 letters and I can look at the page when it comes up and see that it's current news. So I'm rest assured that the Wi-Fi is working and I'm getting current news. If I receive news from a week ago, I'm be real suspicious that the network is not working. So next step is to read the messages. There may be messages on the vendor's website. I couldn't access Boston Public Library. My book that I was reading expired and I wanted to renew my subscription to the book. So I go out to the Boston Public Library, try to sign on, and I couldn't sign on. Okay, so something's wrong. I'll just try later. And I tried the next day and it still didn't work. So I didn't follow my own rules. And I just said, something might be still wrong. I look at it on Wednesday, still can't sign on. And I'm like, So I go out to the Boston Public Library's main page and there it was in red letters. Our site is down for the weekend. So that would have saved me a lot of trouble and a lot of troubleshooting. I was looking at my password to make sure I knew what my password was and what my user ID was and what my card number was. So read the messages. Every once in a while, they share what's wrong and it would help you in your troubleshooting. Another good question is, what did you do just before the error happened? Or what did happen just before the error happened? Do you have a power failure? We had one the other night in Marston's Mills, and that took my Wi-Fi down. And before I could get back online, I had to wait for the power to come on and then turn my modem back on. Did you install a new patch from Microsoft? Microsoft on your laptop, did you just install a new patch? That could be causing the error. Did you install a new piece of hardware? So what did you do just before the error happened? And then finally, all these things that we're talking about, with all those notes that you have on your piece of paper, you can go out to Google and Google what the problem, what you're seeing as a problem, and see if somebody else had the problem and what they did to resolve the issue. Google does a great job at showing us how to do things. And lo and behold, some of these errors, people have taken the time to really spell it out. Go to the start button, select the settings icon, and so on. Or even better, there will be a video of your error and somebody's showing us how to resolve this error that we had. So that's just a bit about troubleshooting. And now we're going to take a look at why are we troubleshooting? Something's not right. The screen is locking up, meaning you're on the keyboard and you can't type anything. You click left, click right. It's a touch screen. You touch the screen, nothing works. So the screen's locking up. The screen is slow, not minutes slow, not seconds slow, but minutes slow. Geez, this usually happens in 5 to 15 seconds. And now it's taking a minute. Okay, yeah, that's way slow. You're getting weird results. You're pressing enter or you're putting in a discount code on a site and you press enter or select the continue button and it brings you to the home page. And it's like, no, I want to go to the totals page so I can put my credit card number in or so on. So that's another thing that could be wrong. Or it stops working altogether. You're in the middle of working on something and it just stops working. You can't go any further. You can't get out. You can't, like locking up, it just stops working. Those are the things when I say something's not right. The first thing that comes to mind when those kind of issues happen is there's a thing called cache. No, that's not the cache in your pocket. It's a thing called cache, and it's working memory. I know this sounds a little geeky, but it's basically where the computer does its calculations. It stores maybe your name and address so that it can put it on the shipping label later. It holds your discount code. So when you do go over to the totals page, you will have the discount that you're expecting. Well, every once in a while, this thing called cache, this working memory, gets corrupted or inaccessible. And it needs to be cleared and we need to start over. Now, how do you clear this working memory? Well, there's a lot of different things we're talking about. We're talking about iPhones, iPads, Androids, laptops, PCs. There's a lot of different computers out there, and the clearing the cache or the history is different for all the different web browsers like Safari, Firefox, Edge, Microsoft Internet Explorer, which is expired, Opera, and Google Chrome are the most common web browsers, and they're all different. How do you know how to clear it? You Google it. How to clear memory or history. How do I clear the history for Firefox? In Google, and it'll come up with the steps that you need to go to, usually to a settings option and then a selection under there. Or if I have, I'm using the Opera browser. How do I clear history in Opera? Or I have an iPhone. How do I clear history in iPhone? Or iPhones have Safari. Most Android devices use Google Chrome, and so on. But just Google it and clear the cache. Also, if the screen was locking up or the application was locking up, you want to close the application. Again, you can Google using BJ's app on iPhone. How do I close the app? And in the instance of the iPhone, you open up your selector screen, and you can swipe up to close the app. Again, this all sounds complicated, but it's just a matter of Googling it and getting the solution, and the steps are simple. And I'd say 9 times out of 10, the steps are spelled out so nicely, and thank you to whoever writes these great solutions out there. The next thing, if something's not quite right, is to power the device off and back on again. That, again, if you're unfamiliar how to turn your device off, it doesn't mean just make the screen go black. It means turn the device off. And you can Google how to turn these different devices off. I have an iPhone 14. How do I turn the device off? And the steps will be there. Or how do I turn my laptop off? That's a little bit easier. That's the power button. Now, turning the device off, people always pick on me and say, but Mark, what? Turn the device off and on again. What is that going to do for me? Well, the power on a device is not like turning a light switch off and on. What you're really doing behind the scenes is you're clearing buffers. You're clearing, I'm not an electrical engineer, but you're clearing the transistors, and you're getting all the junk that it had turned on off, and maybe gets all that scrambled stuff unscrambled. And again,
Mark, I have a question.
Device off. It's not turning the monitor off, it's turning the whole device off. I had a case where the screen was flickering on my TV, and the solution was to unplug it for 30 minutes or turn it off for 30 minutes. And I went to the extent of unplugging it. And by unplugging it, I absolutely knew that the electrons stopped flowing to my TV. I knew it was unplugged. And do you know something? 30 minutes later, the flickering stopped, and I haven't seen it come back yet. So thank you to the person that gave that solution to me. So any device, whether it's a TV, a monitor, the lights, I have remote control lights on my garage. And my garage, I couldn't turn the lights off and on automatic or automated way. So I had to unscrew my light bulb and screw it back in. And after I did that, it all worked again. It was fantastic. So
Mark, I have a question.
yes.
I just put it in chat. I don't know if we're supposed to ask. Can
No,
you
go
hear?
ahead and ask.
Okay. You know, you said with your TV that you left it off for 30 minutes. So when you're doing a device, say your printer or your computer, how long do you need to leave it off before you turn it back on again?
Not okay. The question is, how long do you need to leave a device off? You said, I said on my TV, I left it off for 30 minutes. And the question more specifically was saying my printer or maybe a monitor, how long would I leave that turned off? If I didn't have a specific solution, I would leave it off. And this is debatable, but generally, I always do a slow count to 5 when I unplug things and plug it back in again. And I would say 9.9% of the time that does the trick. So if you want, if that doesn't work for you, then maybe go to a 5 minutes.
Okay, that helps. Thanks.
But as I said, I had a solution. I had actually unplugged my TV for a count of 5 and plugged it back in again, and the flickering still existed. Then I found that solution that said 30 minutes, and unplugging it and sitting around for 30 minutes, that's easy. I can do that. So I did so, and I'm glad I did it because it fixed my TV. Any other questions at this time? Okay. And if the last bullet here talks about if everything is working except one application or one piece of software, or one device. A lot of our world now has to go out to a vendor. For example, we have this Zoom meeting. This Zoom meeting's not just between me at the library and you at your device. It actually goes from the library out to Zoom's computers and back to you, and it's distributed through Zoom. So if Zoom's computers all go down and all of the Zoom sites around the world go down, this Zoom meeting may end. So we need to figure out, is the vendor of the software, let's just say we love Facebook, and all of a sudden Facebook's not working on any of my devices. I've got to get my Facebook fix and it's just not working. You can go out to a piece of software. It's an application. It's also a website called Down Detector. Down Detector will list all of the websites that are having problems, or all the vendors that are having problems or are really down. So let's just say I can't get my Facebook fix, and I go out to Down Detector, and there it is listed at the top of the list and says it's not working. Then I know that my equipment is okay. My connection to the World Wide Web is probably okay. It's just Facebook is not up and running, and Facebook is broken, and Facebook will have to troubleshoot their issues to get it back up and running. So that's something to keep in mind, something really important. I've beaten my head against the wall trying to solve a problem that just isn't mine. And I can't fix Facebook problems because Facebook won't let me go to their computers and touch them. And finally, another thing I've mentioned here is uninstall, reinstall. If you're having huge problems, you're not coming up with solutions, your tech person's not available, and you really want to go out to Facebook. Facebook seems to be up and running because they're not listed on Down Detector. Then you can uninstall your Facebook app and reinstall your Facebook app. So basically delete the app and re-add the app. And I believe for Facebook, you'll have to sign on again. So make sure you have your user ID and password. Most applications require you to sign on. So what does that do? That sets everything back to factory standards. It sets it all back to where it once began. In other words, when it worked before. And that has solved problems for me quite often. And what we're solving is something in the software is corrupted, something is broken. It's not for us to fix. Just delete the app and bring a fresh copy in. And that could fix it. So we've looked at what's not right. And one of the things we talked about was no power. Number one, did you plug it in? It's the silliest thing. You know, a case where you could be running around, you put your laptop down and someone texts you and you respond to that text and you go back to your laptop and it's running on battery, and an hour later, all of a sudden it says battery's running out and you're like, but I'm plugged in. No, you never plugged it in because you got disrupted by that text. It's number one, when you're having power problems, is it plugged in? Where you plugged it in, does the outlet work? And usually the answer is yes, I used it yesterday. Well, double check it. The best way is to use a small lamp, test the lamp in one outlet, and then move the lamp over to your outlet and make sure it's up and running and the light comes on. Is the power strip on? I'm going to pick on Lisa, but it's my fault too. We were setting up for my last class and we plugged the laptop into a power strip. And just about to the end of the class, I get this message, battery's running out. And I'm like, a quick glance, the laptop's plugged in to a power strip and the power strip's plugged into the wall. I went that far. Well, the power strip was not turned on. So make sure the power strip's on and make sure with your lamp that the power strip is working correctly. The next thing is to unplug everything, and we're assuming that it still doesn't work. You want to unplug and replug every connection. I have a show and tell here. This is the power cord to my laptop. Of course, this little plug goes into the laptop. This plug goes into the power strip or the wall. And you have this thing called a power brick. That's just a general term. If you plug your iPhone in or your Android phone in, you have a cord and then there's a brick at the wall, and that cord gets plugged into that brick in most cases. What you want to do is unplug the cord from the power brick and plug it back in and make sure it's plugged in. This is where this power brick is usually located behind a desk, on the floor, behind the file cabinet, the worst places. But this is also where it can get unconnected. When you're going through and checking all the connections, also check the integrity of the cord. Make sure there's no frays. Make sure Fluffy didn't take a bite out of it. Make sure there's no cracks in your power brick. A cracked power brick usually would tell me that there's more problems. And continue along the cord. And where the cord plugs into the laptop or into the phone or whatever device, if when you're plugging it in, it's real spongy and it doesn't feel like it's really getting a good click, that outlet might be broken. And that is very common in laptops because they build them so lightly, and we tend to drop laptops quite often, and it breaks the internals of the laptop. You break the internals of the laptop, you're going to need some help, and most likely you're going to be sending that laptop or computer or device back to the manufacturer to have it fixed. That's not something you're going to fix yourself, but make sure when you plug it in, just like this plug, when I plug it in, it's a good solid plunk. What else do we have in power? So we've unplugged and replugged every connection. And we talked about using a small lamp to test the outlet. And we also talked about a bad cord or your device outlet being broken. So just go through and check that. Doing that, you're going to fix most of your power problems. That's them. So if we had one device not working, like a mouse not working, or a monitor not working, or in the case of iPads, I now connect a thumb drive to my iPad. If that's not quite working right, unplug and power down both the device that's not working and the device that it's plugged into. We've talked about powering down devices. Make sure it's powered all the way down. Wait for a count of 5 and power it all back up again. And make sure your device is unplugged and replugged into the computer. That may fix it. Are there any error messages? If there are, Google them. If reasonable, replace the device. In the case of a mouse is pretty cheap, and quite a few homes have at least 2 mice floating around. So grab another mouse, plug it into the laptop or whatever device you're using, and see if that mouse works. If that mouse works, you know the mouse that you've been using is broken and you'll need to replace it. Mice, keyboards, they're very inexpensive. You don't fix those. Printers, you may fix. Unfortunately or fortunately, they're getting very inexpensive. And Seems like printers last 2 or 3 years at the most these days. Check the Wi-Fi. Now, as I said, some devices, some software, but some devices may reach out to the vendor. You have an Hewlett-Packard printer. It may go out to the Hewlett-Packard website and verify your user ID possibly. And if it can't reach the Hewlett-Packard website, your printer's not going to work. So check the Wi-Fi and make sure, or network, and make sure that works. When I say Wi-Fi, again, that's at home network. At a commercial business, you're connected to a network. You're usually plugged in right into that network. And if the network is down, all your coworkers would be complaining. That's one of the things I would do is when someone called me on the hotline and I question whether they're connected to the network or the web, I would listen and hear if anybody else is complaining. Because when the network goes down, everybody complains and everybody runs to the coffee maker, at least in my office.
Is it an area of the country you're in?
Oh, okay. The question is, what does the term network mean? The network is a series of wires and devices that allow computers to connect to each other. So if I am sitting with my laptop and I have a wire that goes to the wall and I say I'm connected to the network, that wire goes to a computer. And that computer is connected to another computer that goes out to the World Wide Web or to a closed, I'm using the term again, network, a closed loop of wires and computers. I can have a network that would be just in this library, and that signal does not leave the library. Very secure, but in today's world, not practical. So that internal network usually has a link to outside the internal network to the World Wide Web, and then we utilize the World Wide Web to get to all these different vendors, whether it's Facebook, BJ's, the mail server, meaning maybe Microsoft Mail Server, Instagram, the Weather Channel. Does that answer your question?
Okay. He fixed his problem. He couldn't fix mine. He said, well, let me try a different network. And he said that didn't work. When I got back home here, my phone worked.
Okay.
And I thought, well, maybe this network means certain parts of the country. But
Yes. I can't speak for Verizon, but I'll speak in a generic way on that. First, the question was, the person had a phone and left New England, went to Florida, and they couldn't get that phone running. And the person at Verizon said, let me hook it up to another network. And it still did not work. And when the phone did come back into New England, it worked fine. So what my answer to that is I had this network group of computers, or a computer over here. And the Verizon person said, I want to use this network. So this network didn't communicate, this network didn't communicate. There could have been an address on those two computers that the Verizon person did not set. It's a guess. There was some setting in your phone that was not correct, that did not allow you to hook to the networks or the computers in Florida. You came back here, the setting hadn't changed, so it hooked right up to the here. Now,
Oh, down there, Florida. Brian's trying to tell me a new phone. Well, he says you come-
oh, there's your answer.
Go for that. It's fine. That makes me, anyway, so there you go, come up here and it.
My phone is 6 years old and I'm a techie. Okay, that answers that question.
Yeah.
Now, there's some that this could be a whole discussion, but the two phones, were they different, identical models?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's also settings in phones that can say hook to any network, or you can change that setting to hook to the 123 network only, or the ABC network only. So yes, but you can't do that because you don't know those numbers. Yeah, that is these are settings that I'm talking about are well beyond the reach of non-Verizon people. But yes, you can.
I'm 14 years old, given to me by my son-in-law. And I want to know, I want to get this thing. And I wonder, do I have to take out that circuit board and smash it with a hammer because there's financial.
Okay, so the question, it's little unrelated to what we're working at right here, but I also have people on Zoom, so that's what I'm repeating the questions for. The question is, I have an old laptop or an old desktop and want to throw it out, but there's financial information on it. What I would do, there's two options. One, there are commercial entities that will grind the hard drive. Best Buy will either have that or know where you can bring it. Or you take a hammer and nail to the hard drive. This is what I do. And just put, and what there are inside the hard drive is what looks like CDs or DVDs. What you're doing is shattering the discs by putting the hammer through it. So if you shatter the discs, now your financial data is on little itty bitty pieces of disc. Could it be taken off of that disc? Yes. Even after smashing it, could it? Yes, but it's just, they're not going to do it. It would cost too much. It would take too much time, and you'd get so little data, and you wouldn't get all of the data. The other thing is, you and I, our financial information is not interesting to big names, big time cyber criminals. Oh, no, our stuff is just boring because we don't have millions and millions of dollars. But I always get myself in trouble because I always answer the question honestly. Can you get the information off of it? Yes, but it's so impractical that they won't. That's how I take care of it. I smash I put, what I usually do 4 nails through. Yeah, because what you want to do is push that nail into the hard drive through the metal and shatter the discs.
Circuit board. The only thing I've ever seen inside a computer is like
square or rectangle?
Let's talk about this after the class and I will explain a hard drive a little bit more and what you're looking for.
Just burn it. Go ahead.
Yep, you can just melt it down. Okay. So we were talking about one device not working. We also want to make sure our network is up and running and the cloud service is running. The cloud service, as we talked about, may be down. So we go out to the Down Detector website and make sure that the Hewlett-Packard printer website is up and running or not listed on Down Detector. So we talked about a device not up and running. How about an application not working? We could have applications that don't work. And when one application is not working, it usually tells me that there's something wrong on my computer. First, we verify that the software company is working. So if that application is Facebook, we go out to the Down Detector and verify Facebook is up and running. We could even go onto another device and verify Facebook is up and running on that device. We check to see if there's any error messages. We Google the issue that we're seeing. We always make sure a good old Wi-Fi or network is running. And if it's a cloud service, make sure, like Facebook is a cloud service, make sure Facebook is up and running. And if that app is not working at this point, you can always delete the app and re-add the app. That fixes so many things. And sometimes instead of Googling the issue, I verify the web's up. And if it works somewhere else, I quickly just delete the app, re-add the app because the cost is very low. But be forewarned, when you delete an app, you could be deleting your data. Facebook is not deleting data. But if you delete I'm going to just go off the top of my head. Fantasia is a video package. If Fantasia's app is deleted, you may be deleting some videos that you have created. So you got to be careful there. If you, what's another? Oh, you delete a mail app and the mail is just stored locally on your phone. If you delete that app, you're going to delete your mail too. Most mail is stored on servers, so mail apps are safe. But think about when you're deleting it. If it's something simple like Instagram, BJ's, Facebook, that data doesn't cost you anything. You just delete it, re-add it, user ID, password, and you're back in again. Right. So yeah, for an application on your phone or your iPad or a piece of software on your laptop, Googling it and deleting it and re-adding it. Now on a laptop does take a little bit more. You may want to Google, how do I uninstall software? Fantasia used, how to uninstall Fantasia, and somebody will give you the instructions or lead you to a user guide and how to re-add it. Fantasia is a bad example because it is a complex piece of software, but you could get there again by Googling the solution.
But if you just on the app and it says uninstall, and if you just uninstall, that's not enough. Sometimes it'll say you can uninstall.
Yes, on an app.
Right.
If you click on it and say uninstall.
Right.
And it's like you have an iPhone.
Yes.
So an iPhone screen comes up and you click uninstall or delete. That's all you need to do. Then you go out to the app store.
Correct.
Find it and re-add it.
Got it.
So the question was just uninstalling is the same as deleting in most cases. Interchangeable words. Okay, one of the things that we've been picking on quite a bit is Wi-Fi and network. And if I'm having a problem of Wi-Fi being slow or it's not working, first thing I do is go find that device that Comcast is usually the people. Comcast is giving you, but whatever vendor you use, find that device, turn it off, count to 5, turn it back on again. When you turn it back on, it goes through a sequence of events. So give it about 5 minutes to come up and running. When I say slow, so commonly my Wi-Fi gets a little bit too slow and I notice it. And I have done speed checks and found the speed to be real slow. And I go turn it off, turn it on, wait my 5 minutes. And all of a sudden I do a speed check and it's quadrupled in speed. And it's lightning fast again. So every once in a while it gets tired. So you got to turn it off and turn it on again. I do it on a weekly, bi-weekly basis. Do you have to do this? No, it's not required, but it does speed things up for you. Yes, now with Wi-Fi itself, CC Cleaner would not be installed on your Wi-Fi equipment, but yes, the equipment that feeds and utilizes the Wi-Fi, yes. So CC Cleaner is a performance enhancer for laptops specifically. And we're going to cover that a little bit in a minute.
So just basically what you're saying, just shut the modem off.
Yep.
And got it.
And then
Slow.
count to 5,
Got it.
plug it back in again, go get a coffee, wait your 5 minutes because you'll see all the lights. Look at the lights before you turn it off. And that pattern is what you need to accomplish. So if there's 5 lights on and the 5th light is flickering, when you power it back up again, you're going to wait for all 5 lights to be on and the 5th light to be flickering.
The other one.
Switch.
No, I have a router. Have modem and
Okay.
turn both off. You said turn the modem off.
Yes, turn both off. So the question was, this person has both a modem and a router. And so do I. That is a rarity. Most people that do that are techie people. Most people just get the rental equipment from the vendor and it's a single device. Now, in that single device is both a modem and a router, because a modem collects the signal from the wall, from the street. A router distributes it throughout the house. So together, they all do it out of one box. Separately, it's 2 boxes. So if you do have 2 boxes, turn both off, count to 5, and put them back on again. If that doesn't fix your issue, and that's going to fix an awful lot of issues, check the Comcast website. But Mark, you're just saying my Wi-Fi is not working. How do I check the website? You go to your phone. Your phone is on a different network. So if you are connected to, your phone's connected to Verizon, you can go out to the Comcast website on Verizon, just see if there's a global issue. You can also go to Down Detector. You have to start reading some of the messages on Down Detector to figure out where in the world the issues are, because the Comcast could be down in New England and up in the rest of the world, or down in the rest of the world and still up in New England. So you have to read the messages and see where people are complaining it's down. Can other devices connect to Wi-Fi? Always good to test. Make sure that you're not trying to fix something that's not broken. Who owns the modem router? If it's Verizon, Comcast, yay. If it's yourself, It's going to be yours, your problem. But you can check on the Comcast website for troubleshooting. They'll give you some tips. Guess what they're going to have you do first, whether you call or text, turn it off, turn it on. So that when you hit the last resort and call Comcast, you can tell the tech support person, I have turned it off, waited till everything was turned off and it came back on again, and I tested and it still does not work. So it'll save you 5 minutes.
Yeah. And that's what TV, something about. Never seen that before. Well, that's part of Comcast. They're putting a message up. And it turned out to be Comcast. So the guy came and he said, this area with all the construction that's going on, they're moving or interrupting, right? So that you can expect it, you know, they're just doing it every.
Where's that, Mashpee or in Hyannis? Okay. Yes. Okay, so very good comment here on the Cape. I'm assuming everybody on Zoom is familiar with the Cape or coming in from the Cape. We have a lot of construction, a lot of sewer construction, a lot of road construction, and a lot of Comcast lines are being cut and reconnected and dropped and reconnected. Keep that in mind while you're troubleshooting. If you do call Comcast and they step you through a bunch of steps, and if you're just not getting anywhere, you can ask to have someone come out, which is a good thing. The other thing to think about is if you're having intermittent problems and your rental piece of equipment is older than 2-3 years, you may want to take that device down to a Comcast center and exchange the equipment. That's a judgment call on my behalf, saying 2-3 years, maybe 4 years, but equipment does wear out, and equipment does get, further for many more years. Equipment can be so old that it no longer works with Comcast signal. So
inside and doing stuff and it didn't work. So he went outside the house and there is some cable stuff that is left outside or part of the system that is outside. So he did find a piece that was he replaced that piece. And then when he explained how we have a new cable box. So when I went down to that bill, you got an old one, you should change it. Blah, blah, blah. Well, when we changed it, I hate the remote and hardly see the power button. You get used to something and then they change it. And that's all part. So he went over some things using that. He was helpful at no charge.
So here's the point that was just made was in this case, there was an issue in the box outside was rusted. The Comcast person replaced said equipment and got the equipment back up and running. And this is done at no charge. So remember, if it's a Comcast issue or an issue with Comcast equipment, they will take care of it for free. So you don't want to be calling in other people. And so again, calling Comcast would be your last resort. Turning it off and on is certainly your first. And again, my point here is I'm not looking to have us all become techies, but there's some simple things that we can fix in an instant. You call Comcast, it may be 2 or 3 days before they can come out. And you got to be there so that they can look around in the house. And when turning it off and turning it on only takes you 5 minutes, and you're patting yourself on the back. Okay, and here we have a device is slow. First thing is check for viruses. There's software that you can install on different devices to check for viruses. One that comes to mind is Norton Utilities, but there's probably 4 or 5 different companies that are viable.
Which one do you have?
I don't.
Oh.
Because I have switched over to Apple, and Apple is almost perfectly safe from viruses. I have not met anybody or heard of anybody that had a virus on an Apple device. Because Apple is a closed system, we heard that big controversy where Apple wouldn't allow the police department to access the phone data, or the feds, maybe it was the phone. Because Apple is such a closed system, they're not letting anybody in.
Even
Correct.
if that,
You have an Apple device?
yeah,
You're all set.
but it's not on, is it on my computer
At home?
at home?
No. At home, do you have Windows 11? Windows 10 or Windows 11? There is a very good virus scan software built into Windows. Just Google, how do I scan for issues on Windows 11? Yes,
Oh,
I have not. I have not been on a Windows machine since for a year, except for this
what do you have?
Apple
Everything's
iPad,
Apple?
Apple iPad, and Apple phone. And we can talk.
Yep.
Because I'm thinking of another class. How I live on Apple. Both my wife and I took 1 year, a few years back. We said, we will go 1 year on the Apple devices with a Windows device available. And we never turned back. We were able to do everything, all the household things. This is important. Pay bills, do our research, get our dump sticker, get our parking sticker, make appointments at doctors. We made sure we could do all that stuff. And once we determined that we could, after 1 year, I have a Windows machine at home that is probably about 9 years old. Still works fine, a little slow. So if there was something as a techie I wanted to look up or try, I still can. But for day-to-day use, no.
But on your Apple, can you do the same thing that you've been teaching us or telling us about looking up stuff on the Apple?
Yes.
Same thing, same way?
Everything's the same. What I'm covering here is for any of the software. That I'm saying real generic because we all have different stuff. Okay, Apple protects you. We've determined that Apple protects you, and Android is an open architecture, meaning that it's less secure and more people are in there. I am not an Android person. I do not spend time on Android devices, so I can't speak to it. But both Apple and Android, you can get virus scan software to check, to protect yourself, to make sure you're doing the best you can. Now, since I did do the cybersecurity class last month, it is important to mention that the signal, if you're sitting in the Starbucks coffee shop on your iPhone and you're putting in, you're transferring your 5 million off to your offshore account, somebody sitting there can pick up on that Wi-Fi signal and see what you're doing. So there is software to protect you on that also. But the easiest thing is when you're handling your 5 million to your offshore account, be on a reasonably secured network like the one at home. That's more secure. Not sitting in the coffee shop, not sitting here in the library. I think the library is probably pretty safe, but you just don't know who's sitting here. So check for viruses, viruses on your laptop, PC, Android, Apple. That's always something that can slow down a device. Remove unused apps and files. If you have applications on your phone that you just don't use, I cleared 20 off the other day that I just don't use. I had them for a previous job and don't need them anymore. So I just deleted them.
Delete an app, yeah.
How to, do you have a Apple device?
I do.
Okay, so to delete an application, oops. I'm just remembering myself. You hold your finger on the app and hit remove app. So instead of selecting the app, just put your finger on it and hold it there until a second window pops up and hit remove app.
And say delete.
This literally remove app. With PCs, of course, you're going to be uninstalling the stuff. You can't delete apps that easily. Well, some of them you can now. And files. If you have your copy of War and Peace sitting on the local hard drive, you may want to delete that if you're finished reading it. And there's something called, on a laptop or PC, you can run disk defrag. Google it. And what that'll do is realign all the bits on your hard drive to make them most efficient. You can make sure that you can update your working memory on a PC with bigger RAM, random access memory. That's something that you most likely will have somebody else do for you. Again, Best Buy would love to put some more RAM in your PC. And also reboot your Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi will slow you down on your devices. Now we're coming into I think our last screen. How do you handle more complex issues? We've talked about Google. You can always Google any issue and you can read about any solution. If it feels like a solution that you're willing to do it. There's another application called Reddit. Reddit loosely is like a Twitter or a Facebook, but more techies hang out there, more technical people. But again, these technical people are writing some real simple things for us to do. We call it KISS, keep it simple, stupid, KISS method instructions. So go through that. And what else do we have?
How do I get on that Reddit? I just
It's a Reddit app, so you'd add the application.
got it.
Yes. Reddit covers everything under the sun. And I actually on my working iPad, because I don't have a laptop, my working iPad, I don't follow anything. I just use the search bar so I can search for issues and problems. Correct. In the App Store, add the app. I can do a search like I do in Google and get solutions to problems. Very sure. Oh, there's two in chat. I got one.
I can't get in to do
Okay.
this. I'm sorry.
I answered one of them.
Thank you. When you unplug, how long do you have to wait?
I answered that one.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Can we talk about that? No, I'm just.
That may be a network issue or a software issue.
That's never happened to me before.
So we're going to drop down to, let's see. Oh, reinstall software. We kind of talked about that. Delete the software, delete the app, and put it back to once we came. Put it back to where we started from and get rid of any corruption, any anything that's preventing it from working. If you're having trouble with hardware, there's a little piece of software that goes with each piece of hardware called a driver. So there is a driver to allow this monitor to work with this laptop. The mouse, there's a driver for the mouse, the touchpad, the keyboard, the printer. So there's a little piece of software that allows those external devices to communicate with the computer. And those from time to time need to be updated. And sometimes you even get little pop-ups on Windows. They pop up and say, driver XYZ needs to be updated. Click here to update. And most of us say, later, and we never get to it. So updating drivers. Okay, so that sounds real techy, Mark. Yeah, this is a more complex issue, but if someone says, did you update drivers? Oh, Mark said that was that little piece of software. No, I didn't update the driver. So it allows you to communicate with the person that you're working with also. And if everything under the sun has not worked and you're at your wit's end, whatever it is just not working. You can always, like on a laptop, you can reinstall the operating system. That's delete everything off the hard drive and start over again. That is something that somebody else will probably do for you. But it's something to keep in mind. Again, every other solution. I have never had to solve a laptop issue or a PC problem that way. My coworker did one time. We were at our wit's end. We were a month on an issue. We had talked to the vendor. We tried all the tricks. We powered down, powered up. We made sure it was plugged in. We did everything on that we've talked about today. And it's like, okay, fish or cut bait. Let's just clear everything off and rebuild the laptop so that this person can be up and running again. And a couple hours later, it was done and we moved on.
Is that a good thing to do? Yes.
Well, it's a necessity. If you have to get whatever said piece of something not working, when you're at your wit's end, I do not do computer. I'm on respite for computer support. I just came off of 6 years of help desk support and love it dearly. I have been doing customer support, help desk, tech support, and QA, which is like support, but it's support before the customer gets the stuff, for 30 some odd years. Yeah, I am your most non-techie person as a, I'm just not a geek. I worked with geeks. I mean, my favorite geek that I worked with, he would leave work and go home and rebuild a server and spend 5 hours playing games on his PC. I go home and I love it and I study it. And even now that I'm not responsible for it, here I am challenging myself to teach a class. And I'm teaching some classes and I will continue to teach classes on topics that people can really use. And as long as people are showing up and watching the videos, I will continue on as I enjoy it. Yeah.
Unusual to me. Always.
Well, I'm going to say thank you to everybody.
Thanks, Mark. That was really useful.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. And see you all at the next class.